Come on, y'all, talk to me.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
But what if you sow a good seed and you get a bad harvest? What happened? Did that not happen in the Bible? Do we not read that in the Bible?
Weeds and the tares come together.
Where the men went out and sowed they sowed a good seed, but what happened during the night?
The enemy came.
Huh?
The enemy came and he planted tares.
Somebody came that night and planted terror among the good seed. And what did he tell them? They wanted to go pull it up, and what did he say?
Let them grow up.
Let it grow up together. Now, he had a reason for doing that. Who can think of why he would allow that to happen?
He said so that you don't pull up the wheat with the tare.
You don't damage the good with the bad.
So, what can you think is a wise decision for doing that? Just out of your own intellect. Somebody give me a good reason. That is beneficial.
It was to protect those that was trying to grow. It was for protection of those that he had already planted for good.
That's a good point of view. Who can think of another point of view? If you plant two kinds of seed, a good one and a bad one, and you don't want to hurt the good one, and you make a decision, let them grow up together. What's the benefit in that?
Hopefully some of the good will rub off on that bad. Changing.
No, because see, they're both growing. The nature that is in both seeds is going to manifest itself. So they will stay the same.
And you can,
The only is there has to be a mutation taking place. There has to be a grafting in. What did God do? He grafted us in. So if you understand grafting, there's a process you have to go in order to graft somebody in. Y'all understand that process of grafting?
yes,
When you graft something in, that means you cut into it. So you open this up, and then you take another branch, and you splice the ends of it, and you stick it down in there, and you sew it back up so that it will knit together. It has to go through a knitting process.
tape it back up.
This is kind of technical for some of you all, but I'm just sharing with you, this is the process. When the doctors operate on you and they replace a part, what do? They sew it together so it can knit back together. When you have a sew, the skin may be open, but what do? You clean it and you put it back in place and you hold it there so that it can knit back together. It's a knitted process. So now back to the point. Why would you let the wheat and the tare grow up together? There's a benefit. And I'm going to tell you what it is. The benefit is for you to be educated into what happens when they grow up together because they both have a distinct look. And you wouldn't know that until you see the finished product. See, when you let it go through the process and you see the end result, then you can determine which is which. But in this growing stage, you don't know which is which. You can look at the leaves, there's a small difference, but that's too small. But when it comes to full turn, you can tell the difference. And that, my point is for your educational understanding. This is why God set the system up. He said, it's impossible to please me without faith. God will have you do something that is crazy to your understanding, but he has a greater understanding beyond yours. He knows the end result, but you don't. So he'll allow you to go through something in order to discover what he's wanting you to see. He wants you to see it for yourself. Because if he told you, would you hold on to it as strong as if you experienced it yourself? Huh?
No,
When somebody tell you, do you hold on to it as strong as you do as if you experienced it?
No.
No, this is mighty weak. Y'all don't know?
No,
Y'all can't tell the difference?
yeah, we can tell the difference.
When you experience something, it sticks with you longer. There's a greater imprint.
That's right.
When you go through it, yeah.
You can hear it and not hear it. And a few minutes later, you've forgotten it. Because it made no imprint in your brain. There's no connection. It went through, boom, and it's gone. So, this is what God, back to my point, this is what God is doing. He's giving you understanding through His Word. And He uses something that you can relate to. Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Now, where did the Prince of Peace come from? If He's going to be the Prince of Peace, who else in the Bible that we relate to as the Prince of Peace?
Jesus.
There's somebody else that, if I say something, I'm going to open up. Who else?
Give us the answer.
Okay. You see, this is opening up another point for me. When Jesus came along, when He was born, God has already used people to manifest certain things. Remember when Moses was in the wilderness and the people was lusting after meat, and God gave them meat until they died?
Yep.
What did God do to resolve that? He had Moses to put a serpent up on a stick, did He not?
Yep.
And said, whoever look up at this serpent will be healed. All right. Now, who came along later on in this dispensation and followed that same principle?
Jesus.
Jesus. My point is, God used mankind, those who obeyed God and did what God did, what God told them to do. Later on, when Jesus was manifest, He followed that same pattern of good deeds. So, when I asked you about the Prince of Peace, God used somebody to set a standard for who Jesus was when He became the Prince of Peace. Who was that? Anybody know? Anybody?
The Holy Spirit?
Jesus is the priest after the order of who? Melchizedek. Who was Melchizedek?
Prince of Peace.
Prince of Peace.
The Prince of Salem.
He was the king of Salem.
King of Salem. But he also was a Prince of Peace. And I'm trying to get you to see. God used natural man who obeyed Him when Jesus came. He didn't throw what man had perfected out. He used it. This is how God built. He used you to perfect something another, and another generation will come along and use that thing because it has been perfected. So you can use it in the building process of His kingdom.